Solutions.com.
21st Century Radio is sponsored by Hieronimus and Company. Now more of 21st Century Radio with your host, Dr. Hieronimus.
It's all about soul. It's all about faith and a deeper devotion. It's all about soul. 'Cause under love is a stronger emotion.
Welcome to 21st Century Radio. I'm Dr. Zohara Hieronimus. Laura Kortner is our executive producer, and Anita Brockington runs our board. Robert Monroe was a successful and distinguished business executive, dedicated family man, and noted pioneer in the investigation of human consciousness. He invented the HemiSync audio technology and founded the global organization, the Monroe Institute. The Monroe Institute advances the exploration of human consciousness and the experience of expanded states of awareness as a path to creating a life of personal freedom, meaning, insight, and happiness. Join us this hour for an update and overview of their work with their president and executive director, Nancy McMoneagle. Nancy's been with us before, and she will share with us the new research of brain activity as it relates to various experiences of consciousness and what it might mean for our world and each person. Thank you so much for joining us again, Nancy.
Well, thank you for having me again, Zoe. I had such a good time last time around we spoke, which I think was 2 years ago now, right?
It's been a while. It felt like yesterday.
Thank you for having me back.
You're welcome. It's such a pleasure. So first we should do a general overview of the Monroe Institute. You've been involved with it for a very long time. Explain to our audience the kinds of things you all do.
Well, in short, we are a research and educational organization, and Bob Monroe, who is known mainly for his out-of-body experiences, he has written the classic Journeys Out of the Body. That was the first book he wrote of 3. And in his curiosity, he wanted to understand more about how to control the state of consciousness, how to teach other people how to get into it, how to teach people not to be afraid. He said, if this book can help just one person not have to go through the fear I did, then I will have been successful. So meanwhile, he ends up creating this whole educational institute where we offer programs to people from all over the world. We help people get into very deep, very profound states of consciousness and then use those for whatever purpose they want. We are a little different from others in that we do not have a religious inclination, not particularly a philosophical framework either, other than we ask people to consider they are more than their physical bodies. That's not too difficult for the people who are attracted to us. And so what we do is offer these programs, and it's based on the research that Bob initiated many, many years ago, in fact, back in the 50s, when he was interested in sleep learning. And so he has been using audio technology, and in fact, I, at age 14, was started on this by having a tape deck next to the bed. It was one of those reel-to-reels that maybe the younger listeners have never even seen before.
Right, ancient history.
And it played sounds that helped me sleep, and it had an affirmation on it for me and everything else. Well, what ended up happening, he invented what is now called HemiSync technology, actually now as well, as it's been over 40 years. And in fact, there have been a lot of come-alongs after that using binaural beat technology and so forth. But what we have found is that by introducing various tones to both ears separately, there is a brain wave entrainment that occurs that helps people get into very deep states of consciousness very quickly. In fact, we had a Zen monk here. I think he was the head of a monastery in Vancouver, and he said he saw happen to people what took 25 years of sitting for him in terms of the states they were able to reach so rapidly. And so what we do is to help people get into these deep meditative states, if you will, but they're more than meditation. They're very active. And then you go and you use these productively in your life, whether you're interested in out-of-bodies, and certainly a lot of people are attracted to us for that reason, whether you're interested perhaps in using this focused consciousness, which we feel is energy, for healing, for greater creativity, for lucid dreaming, becoming aware when you're in your dream state and using those productively. I mean, the list goes on. And so the Institute is revolving around those programs as well as our research. Currently, we're looking at what the effects are from using our other technology called SAM, which is short for spatial angle modulation. And the difference with that is it's not using the binaural beat so much as it's using a tone that is being, through a certain algorithm, is moving back and forth and here and there all around to also help support various brainwave states for reaching these altered states of consciousness. And we're looking at what is the response, called evoked potential. What is the response to the various sounds that are being introduced? And we'll hope to have results from that by the end of the year.
It's fascinating. I mean, all of it. And for anybody listening, they have a wonderful online store that you can get CDs. In fact, an earlier hour we were talking about fasting the mind and simple meditation of, being aware, just being aware of what your mind is doing, not trying to quiet it, not trying to make it do anything, just be present to it, as well as focused breathing, just focus on your breath, pull yourself back to your breath. Talk to us a bit about those two kinds of things and how they can really be helpful, and then how that sort of awareness parlays into these deeper, rich experiences that you all make available either as online classes, weekend programs, long-term programs, etc.
Right. Sure, good question. First of all, I think the trick is learning to detune. Getting quiet first. And right now, I have to smile. In the old days, you'll remember this, though. Back in the 70s, you couldn't even use the word meditation without people harumphing us, right?
Yeah.
And now mindfulness is the key word.
Yeah.
That is accepted.
Yeah.
And it's even used in schools and in healthcare facilities and so forth. So mindful, being aware is so critical. Just taking a deep breath. Can you feel the chair that's supporting you or your feet on the ground? Can you feel the air wafting past your cheek? The feel of the temperature, the sounds outside, the sounds inside, the sounds of your body, whatever. Becoming aware of that. Just by that very attention, you start to detune a bit, interestingly. Well, with what we're doing is you learn how to detune. The first step is learning to put your body asleep while your mind stays very crisp, aware, and alert. And what Bob did to get it away from Eastern pointers or religious pointers or whatever, he gave it his own language, and he called it focus levels. So right now, hopefully, people who are listening are what we call C1, consciousness 1, awake, alert, listening to what we're saying. But then what we do through the sound technology and through verbal guidance and so forth is to help people get to what he called focus 10, a state of body asleep, mind awake. Now, once you can do that, then this would probably, I'm sure, possibly be very much what people come to through paying attention to breathing. I went to a Zen monastery outside of Kyoto when I was doing an independent study back at Wittenberg University, where I went to school, and I quit drinking beer. I quit smoking cigarettes. I was going to reach nirvana. I was going to get it. I was going to understand oneness. So I go into, and it was a time of zazen. You're sitting for 8 hours trying to get quiet. Well, I have a typical American young lady at that time, 19-year-old mind, zing, 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 and I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't quiet my mind. And finally, we took a break after about an hour and a half in, and the Roshi smiles at all of us, and we're all around in a circle, mainly men, and a few of us American students. And then, and many of the men were from Brazil, as I recall, which is odd. But anyway, the Roshi pulls out a pack of Highlight cigarettes from his yukata to have a smoke during the break. Now, you see, my Christian-trained mind was thinking, I'm going to quit smoking and drinking. I will be so pure, I will reach the ultimate. And then people were invited to go out and have a beer that night afterwards with the master.
Right.
So I had some really good training there. Well, here, coming back to the Institute.
Well, wait a second. Don't pass that point. I think it's really important because there's so many mythologies and so many stereotypes about what it means to be mindful or to have awareness. And there's these stereotypical, you have to drink your smoothies in the morning and you have to wear Lululemon pants and you have to do yoga and
be a vegetarian, wear patchouli, and it's true. And you have to meditate every day at least twice, I know.
Right. So what you learned and what I learned as well from wonderful guides and teachers over the decades is becoming who we each are is the end game here. It's not about becoming something that you think you should be. It's about actually unfolding yourself, which is what true education is meant to do.
I love that.
So talk to us a bit about that, because I think it's a very important lesson to have learned at such a formative time in your as you approach your 20s.
Oh, my goodness, absolutely. And, interestingly, and that's what our first program, the Gateway Voyage program, is about.
Yes.
It's about finding out more about yourself, the different levels of yourself, and I mean self with a capital F here. It's the more of like the all who you are, getting in touch with greater, it's going beyond personality. It's going beyond your beliefs of what you have been trained, no matter religion or no religion, no matter what your cultural upbringing has been. The idea here is you're going into these other states of being, which we call, let's say, altered states of consciousness. We call them expanded states of awareness, where you encounter other aspects of self, other aspects of reality. And then it becomes very difficult to discuss this verbally, to give it words. I'm afraid I'm not an eloquent speaker. So you just have to experience. And then once you find out for yourself, and our point here is, our underlying, overarching point here is that you are more than your physical body. And this is not just a belief. When you leave here, you know it. Not necessarily because you've had an out-of-body. Not everyone has an out-of-body experience. But because of the way the program has been structured, and Bob Monroe was brilliant. He was my stepfather, my mentor, my first boss, my last boss.
Right.
as with a lot of brilliant people, he was not the most easy person to work for. But when people come here, it's really cute that one woman came through. Her husband said, "You have got to go there." She says, "But why?" And she's from, I think it's from Iran or Iraq. Oh, forgive me, I can't remember which, but Middle Eastern heritage. And he said, because it's like Hogwarts. You've got to go. You find the magic. You go there and you find tools to learn more about what reality really is, about who you really are. So she came and she absolutely, like most people, got blown away. So it's not meditating with your fingers up on your kneecaps and trying to get into a figure eight with your legs. And having been rather chunky, I was never very successful at that anyway.
I have to mention, it's so funny you mentioned the Hogwarts, because I read in one of your pieces of literature that one participant described your trainers and TMI in general as Hogwarts on steroids.
Yes, this is the same woman.
That's adorable.
Isn't that great? But it's true, and we are so blessed to have wonderful trainers from all different walks of life, again, but all who have been very carefully trained to be able to help guide these participants. And again, the participants are from all over. It's funny, when I came in, I'm at the office right now, and as I was on my way in, a young man came up, and he had his name tag on. They just started Saturday, and he's from Russia. And he says, "I must talk to you before the week is out. I want to have a TMI in Russia." And I said, "Okay, well, we'll chat." But why do they come? Because a lot of people will come because someone has died, frankly. Whether, we've had people come who've lost their children and they're hoping to contact them again. We've had people come who are at a crossroads in their life. They're looking for, should I stay with my job? Should I quit? Should I marry this person? Should I divorce this person? Whatever. So it goes from the pragmatic to the very esoteric. Why am I here? I want to understand about God. What is this thing called consciousness anyway? Which always tickles me, Zoe, because I haven't yet seen a full definition that anyone can agree on. It's kind of like trying to define God.
Well, it's interesting. When I interviewed Dr. Krippner about one of his books with Adam Rock on shamanism, he was saying, that they have ceased calling things states of consciousness because they're not really, he says, they're not really states. They are
a non-local perception.
Right. They're just the experience of aspects of consciousness. They are the
perfect.
field, as he liked to say, they are the field in which these experiences take place. Meaning consciousness is the field in which all these experiences take place. And I really like that because it took away the stigma, it took away, the highfalutin language, and it just makes clear that we have a multidimensional capacity as humans to experience multidimensional qualities of ourselves. And that's what's so beautiful about the Monroe Institute. If you're just joining us, Nancy McMoneagle is our guest. She's the executive director and president at the Monroe Institute. You can learn more online. I really encourage you to consider taking one of their classes, maybe the Weekend Gateway program. www.monroe, MONROE, institute.org.
Hello, this is Jamal Yogas, author of All Our Waves Are Water. You can learn more about me at jamalyogas.com. You are listening to 21st Century Radio with Dr. Zohara Hieronimus.
Welcome back to 21st Century Radio. Don't forget, all of our guests in these programs are archived online for free at www.21st21stcenturyradio.com. Our guest this portion of our program is Nancy McMoneagle. She is the executive director and president of the Monroe Institute. They further the experience and exploration of consciousness, expanded awareness, and self-discovery. Learn more at www.monroeinstitute.org. Nancy, could you describe for our listeners a little bit about your weekend consciousness programs as well as your online programs?
Well, it's not so much weekend. I mean, we have a few weekend programs, but those, for the most part, other than some special ones we have, like the, excuse me, I'm interrupting myself here. Those, for the most part, are offered by guest trainers or our outreach trainers. The weekend programs, which are called excursion programs, we have about 100 outreach trainers throughout the world, and they are like a taste. It gives an idea of what it's like to reach these very basic introductory states to the deeper ones, like Focus 10, again, body asleep, mind awake. Focus 12, the state of expanded awareness. Focus 15, a state of no time. Now, those are the weekend programs, except for those given by our guest trainers. And, for example, we have a weekend program coming up by Suzanne Giesman, who is an evidentiary medium, and this will be the first time we offer that. So I'm very excited about her program. She used to be a commander in the Navy, and I love that combination of someone who's lived what I would call a very pragmatic, in-the-world kind of job, but also deals with such things as talking with those who've passed on, the medium aspect. Our main programs are our week-long programs that we offer here. And, in fact, again, there's a crossover between our research and our education. For example, we have a program here called MC Squared, which is Manifestation and Creation Squared. And this is about learning to get in touch with using your energies, again, focused energy. This is what Bob felt consciousness was all about, focused energy. And that way you can learn how to do such things. You've seen people bend spoons, influence computers, and that kind of thing. And we offer exercises in that program to help people learn how to use that energy, whether we call it chi, ki, prana, vital energy, by whatever words. And we have a study going along with that that's done by our research person here. That's Ross Dunseith, who also works at the University of Virginia at the Department of Perceptual Studies. And this is a multi-year PK study, a psychokinesis study. and he's actually bringing in his equipment to measure what's going on energetically when people are throwing the dice the way they say they're going to do it, or they're bending the spoons or lighting the light. So that's very exciting. So that's one of our programs where the research kind of intersects. Another would be our discovery program that we've just recently done with a device called the Mind Mirror. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I was reading it in your literature, and I went, wow, and showing the gamma effect. This is fascinating. Okay, tell us all about it. The Mind Mirror.
The Mind Mirror. Well, all I can say, I'm not an expert on it. The woman we're working with, Judith Pennington, at her institute, has brought it in, and we have several technicians who also work with our 16 participants. We have 4 different mind mirrors, and it's an EEG device which has 4 channels. It's not really exotic, but it's wonderful in that it's helping people see what is going on in terms of their brain waves when they're having various experiences. And the discovery program, we're trying to look at what's going on with the out-of-body exercises and the remote viewing exercises, for example. And we're getting some very interesting results, which Ross, I hope, will be putting together with Judith, and again, we'll be publishing those towards the end of the year. But what it looks like they are getting some significant data to show that in one case, this one guy had an out-of-body experience. He was able to identify the target clearly with no, they call it having a first-place match. He didn't say anything that was incorrect. He described it perfectly. And they were looking at his EEG data, which is what the Mind Mirror produces, and they're looking at it both the left and right hemispheres and trying to find out, well, what's going on there? Well, interestingly, from what it looks like, the brain went really quiet. It wasn't like there was a lot of activity. But there was also a lot of gamma activity among people when they were having these more peak experiences.
Talk to us a bit before you pass that, because people often hear there's alpha, beta, theta, gamma. Share with our audience a little bit about what's known about these various states in the brainwave activity.
Okay. And again, keeping in mind, please, I am by no means an expert, but hopefully people are using more beta brainwaves right now.
Right.
Hopefully I'm not putting them into an alpha state, which is more deeply relaxed, and theta, which even gets more deeply, and then delta, which is deep sleep. And what we're aiming for is to get people to be able to hold, for example, an alpha state. You remember back, I guess it was 70s and 80s, meditation, get into the alpha state, and then you've really achieved something. Well, if you can achieve keeping those brainwaves relaxed, and again, it's a very creative state, but also staying quite alert. And then lately, what they have found is they raise the frequencies, and again, with gamma, we're talking like 35 to 45 hertz for the most part. It's what we're looking at around here. And they're finding, and it's still not known, so all of this is to be proven yet. But what is being reported when people have those brainwave patterns where they're having more gamma produced, again, we're looking at higher frequency than the beta, which is the more alert kind. They're having a creative flow and a sense of unity, a sense of almost being in touch with a superconscious mind. And then there's the sense of happiness, contentment, peace that comes from that. And interestingly, too, is that what's happening when people are doing remote viewing? Is that what are they producing in lucid dreaming? Now, that part we don't know yet. We haven't been measuring people in sleep. That would get difficult because we're not a sleep lab here. We're trying to also give people a good experience.
Right.
So the beauty of this is in the afternoons we hook everybody up, and this is using wet electrodes, too. So we know, and they've called them cosmic hairdos now with all the junk in their scalps and so forth. So they've made it fun.
The Mary Shelley cap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how she started, when she wrote Frankenstein. That was what she had seen, was the galvanism. And she had seen it on stage, and it inspired her enough to write that extraordinary.
Is that so?
Yeah, it was through galvanism that her Frankenstein came alive in her mind.
Well, I know, full circle.
Isn't that interesting? I want to come back to something you said, because I've interviewed Carolyn McMaken a few times, and she's the one teaching people how to operate a machine that gives microspecific frequency for healing. And they have found such remarkable, extraordinary results for everything. They don't treat cancer, but they treat just about anything else. And when you mentioned that 35 to 45 hertz, you said that was the theta?
No, that would be gamma.
Gamma. So, interestingly enough, 40 hertz is the general frequency they use for inflammation.
I'll be darned. That's interesting.
Yeah, so it might be interesting for you all to check out the work. And by the way, the frequencies that they use with the equipment, nobody knows who divined them. They were literally dowsed, whether it was an Abrams machine or a Hieronimus machine. Somebody during that time period in the 30s literally dowsed these frequencies, and they were done initially, of course, with no electricity. It was just done through these, vacant wells. Radionics machines weren't necessarily plugged in, but they work at a distance anyway. You put the specimen of what you want to treat. You dial the knobs. I used to do it with paper and pencil myself. It was kind of fun. But they now work with actually creating microspecific frequencies for all these various ailments, and they're very particular. And it might be interesting for you all to take a look, and I can give you those contacts, not like you couldn't get them on your own.
I would love to have that.
Yeah, it could be interesting because you're in a similar area of research, even though you're researching different aspects of its use.
Well, as a matter of fact, that would go well with, we're going to be doing a copper wall project later this year, which again is looking at the bioenergy field using a PIP video camera, other instrumentation to see if someone is sending out healing energy. And we actually even have a membership here called our DEC. It's Dolphin Energy Club, where people get together and send healing energy to others. Now, we have not been measuring that other than qualitatively. Talking with people, saying, okay, so, they'll say, can you send energy to so-and-so who is having gastric difficulties, blah, blah.
Right.
And we do, and we ask for feedback. Well, the Copper Wall Project will be studying this subtle energy, and I think it would be lovely to talk with Carolyn McMaken.
Yeah, Carolyn McMaken.
I don't know her, so I absolutely will make contact with her, because it sounds like that could go hand in hand with the kind of thing we're doing with the Copper Wall Project.
Yeah, and she, like you all, has gone around the world. There are about 3,000 practitioners now that are providing these services, whether it's to sports teams or children with, limb diseases, whatever. It's extraordinary.
Right.
So coming back then to these various states of alpha, beta, theta, gamma, why is this important to the audience listening?
Well, put it this way: only the people who would find it important are those who are interested in the science of it. For the people who are interested in the experience of, I just want to make my life better. I want to understand, why am I here? What's the next step?
Right.
What happened when Dad died? Does anybody have anything to tell me from the other side? Then those states, those brainwave states, are not so important. Who cares? But for the people who want to understand the science of it, it's really cute. Bob Monroe, my dear stepfather, used to say, I think we ought to look at brainwave states, but I'm not so sure we might not be just measuring the exhaust from the car.
Interesting.
By doing so.
So,
but if we know how to do that, if we know what it is, if we can identify and then come back and then design exercises, if we know, for example, that an out-of-body state typically occurs when someone is producing 35 hertz or gamma predominantly, then we can retro-design exercises exactly with that in mind.
Right.
So that's why they're important.
Right.
If we know that we can offer this kind of combination of sounds, which is our principal technology, the audio, to help people get into these deep, uninterrupted sleep states. And God knows we need our sleep these days with all the stress. And we know this combination is the best because of the measurement of the brainwave states. Then we've got something very valuable. And that's what Bob wanted to do, is bring something of value back to the culture. So currently we're looking at that. We're using a 19-channel EEG for currently, but I'm hoping to up that to a 64-channel, depending on if we get enough funding for that. We are a 501c3 and, of course, are always open to help, like most other such research facilities and educational facilities. But that is why it's helpful. But again, for people, for the John and Jane Doe on the street who just say, I want my life better, I need hope, I need meaning. That's what we offer people through training them to get in touch with themselves at these much deeper, more profound levels, and giving them tools once they get there.
And the thing I have to say in compliment to you and everybody at the Monroe Institute, what I tell people, it is literally the best place that I know of where you can go and safely be trained, that there is no risk, unless you do something stupid to yourself, that has nothing to do with the Institute. But I like the fact that you all guide people with such generosity, compassion, and so many decades of experience, unlike somebody can sign up for a workshop, go do something with somebody that's really not qualified to be teaching them, and leave out really important safety steps like when you leave your body, make a contract when you're coming back into your body. I mean, they can teach you crazy stuff that will leave you floating in the ceiling and wondering how you're going to get back into your body. And people go, oh, come on, Zoe, you're exaggerating. Well, I'm not, because...
Well, thank you for bringing that up. You're exactly right. And in fact, when people come here, I just love watching it. They're like buds of flowers, and they open up to each other.
Yeah.
It is safe. They are in good hands. We have been around for 45-plus years. And it doesn't matter what someone's orientation is. It doesn't matter what their religious beliefs, their philosophical beliefs, their educational background. I mean, we've had everything from quite literally the neuroscientists to people who have no job, who have very humble beginnings. We also have scholarships we offer.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's from A to Z, and to watch these people open up and get a handle on it, and they then go decide how they're going to explore. And that's the thing we say, go explore. Mm-hmm. What is this thing called reality all about? Go explore your eye there. Come back, tell us what it's like. Give us information, because we're continually growing and evolving as well.
And, it's interesting because with so many, I've been working in the animal telepathy area for the past 8 years or so, and to watch this increase worldwide with people having natural telepathic experiences with wild and domestic animals is exactly what the animals said would be helping as we move towards more and more challenging environmental times. So these kinds of programs that you offer make it possible for all of us to be of service, whether it's, with someone who has just passed on, or someone who is in the grieving process, or somebody else who's about to give birth or has given birth. I mean, there's so many beautiful ways to use this kind of serene attention. I think that's the way I sometimes think of it.
So, say that again.
Serene. I call it serene attention.
Oh, serene. I was hearing Turene. I went, oh.
Oh, well, that's a nice word. Or is that a place? Isn't that in Italy, I think? Turene, Italy or something?
It's interesting that you're mentioning the animal communication. We will be having, for the first time next year, a full animal communication. Actually, it's animal interspecies communication with all workshop.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and we are offering it for the first time. The guest trainer will be Nancy Windhart.
Uh-huh.
And so we're very much looking forward to that. And I particularly am. We've had a lot of bears appear around here of late.
Yeah, in Virginia.
Mm-hmm. And right here in the community, we live on the land is called the New Land, and I don't want to bore you if I already told you about this 2 years ago, but it's cute because Bob and Mother had been looking at a new place to go because he wanted to expand. He wanted to have this school, this institute, to continue his studies and offer those programs. And so they've been looking at a couple of pieces of land, and one weekend Mother said, "Oh, Bob, let's go to the land." He said, "Well, the old land or the new land?" And so this place has been called the New Land.
That's
well,
lovely.
As you might imagine, because of the nature of our work, the New Land is about all these people coming together with new visions and new ways and feeling connected, which I happen to love. But it also had a very humble beginning as being the New Land versus the Old Land.
No, that's
so
lovely.
Here we have the New Land, which was 800 acres, and there have been bear sightings all around the various people's homes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know you have written this wonderful book on the...
Well, the bear is the earth healer and literally taught natives how to do smoke medicine, how to do sage and sweetgrass, and it's very interesting when you literally come into respectful rapport with the animal kingdom. You can learn how shamans, elders, medicine chiefs got information by allowing and allying with particular animals for particular purposes. So,
right, and we hear about this in people's experiences. Like right now, we have a lucid dreaming workshop going on, and you'll hear people come back and start reporting their communication with animals.
Yeah.
Now, keeping in mind they are learning to become aware in their sleep state during their dreaming state.
Exactly.
So I think the communications are actually happening because they're finally able to access that, what did you call it, field?
Serene.
No, I was going back to Stan Krippner's field of experience.
Oh, it's the field of experience.
I love that.
The consciousness is the field of experience in which these things take place. And I liked it because it took away all the gibberish about, what it was and trying to qualify what it was when, in fact, it's the field in which we have these experiences. And I really like that. He and Adam Rock wrote that when they were working on Rolling Thunder and some other books about shamanism. Nancy McMoneagle is our guest. She is the executive director and president at the Monroe Institute. I encourage you all to look at their programs and maybe consider buying their morning meditation program CD. It's a 20-minute guided meditation. I'm going to get it. www.monroeinstitute.org.
Hi, I'm Penny Pierce, author of Transparency, Seeing Through to Our Expanded Human Capacity. I've been writing and teaching about personal transformation for many years, and I have written 10 books on various aspects of the subject. You can learn more about me at my website, which is just my name, pennypierce.com, but it's spelled PenneypeiRce. You're listening to 21st Century Radio with Dr. Hieronimus.
Welcome back to 21st Century Radio. Don't forget, all of our guests and our programs are archived online as free podcasts at www.21st21stcenturyradio.com. Currently with us is Nancy McMoneagle, Executive Director and President of the Monroe Institute. Learn more about their work, what they offer, even beautiful CDs you can get for your own enjoyment and betterment. www.monroeinstitute.org. Yeah, I came across your morning meditation program, and I want to get this. So tell us a bit about it.
I have to tell you something. The morning meditation is a hemi-sync exercise, and it was actually created, as are all the hemi-sync exercises, by our sister company, which is Hemi-Sync. It just goes by Hemi-Sync. And years ago, we used to be the same entity.
Okay.
And then, like mitosis, is it meiosis, mitosis? Cell mitosis, where there was a division. And Bob, well, that was my, biology, 8th grade, out my brain now. But anyway, Bob decided to separate the companies. And so the Monroe Institute is the educational and research arm. And then what became, actually was called Interstate Industries, Inc. Bob believed in your mind, you have to take the interstate. Don't get stuck in local traffic. That was his little metaphor. But that became Hemi-Sync. And so this morning meditation was created by its new owner and director, Garrett Stevens. And I highly recommend people go, and it's to Hemi-Sync, that's HEMI-SYNC.com. hemisync.com, and you can find all their various offerings. Now, we at the Monroe Institute also offer it, so of course you can get it through us. But I just wanted to give them some recognition because that was the company that has been selling the books, Bob's books, and the HemiSync CDs and downloads for many years.
Do you have to own the HemiSync headset in order to benefit by this meditation?
No, not at all. Any headset is fine. It is best if you can separate. You need stereo to really get the full effect of the binaural beats.
Okay.
For the SAM technology, or the spatial angle modulation that we offer, and there's some downloads. There's some free downloads also on our site. So if people just want to test these things, they can do so. And again, just go to MonroeInstitute.org, and there are free downloads. There's group meditation, for example, something I did a while back. It is a SAM exercise. And so you can experience a difference and see how you like them, because they are different types of technologies. But thank you for mentioning it, Zoe, and I'm sure the HemiSync folks would love to hear from your audience as well.
And for those in our listening audience, we broadcast from outside of Pikesville, Maryland, and for those in Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia listening in, the Monroe Institute is not far away. They're in Faber, Virginia, and how wonderful. You can actually go there. You don't have to fly anywhere. You can get in your car and go to one of their programs, their week-long programs, and really benefit by our proximity. Again, find them online at www.monroeinstitute.org. Nancy, what haven't we touched on that you'd like to be sure we do cover? There was one thing I was curious about, which is the program that's going on in lucid dreaming you mentioned, and the work that you all represent about dreams that can save our life, that there are early warning signs of cancer and other diseases that people get, but they don't always know that's what it is that they're getting.
Right. Well, I'm sure that comes up for people as well. And again, because our trainers are expert at what they do. And now the trainers who are here, and it's their program they designed, are Luigi Chambarella and Thomas Hassenberger. It's real cute. Luigi...
I had Thomas on one year, by the way. He was excellent.
You had who on?
I had Thomas Wassenberger on.
Isn't he wonderful?
Excellent.
And so very German.
Yes.
I love him.
No, well, he really explained the HemiSync to us in a way that was just so easy to understand. It was wonderful.
Oh, great. Well, and Luigi is a treat, too. And so they're both here right now. And then it's interesting, of course, the program, as you might imagine, goes all day and all night.
Right.
Because they are being offered various sound frequencies and so forth, and instructions and exercises throughout the night to help them be aware of their various states, to train them to hold that focus. And so it's everything from, in fact, getting such information, health information, or I come back to the creative problem-solving ability that you can get into these other states, or learning to control that dream and take it wherever it is you want. And some people, it's really cute. I went to one group and saying, hey, how is everyone doing? Do you feel like you can control your dreams and stuff, so forth? Would you believe I had a huge percentage of the people that they had trained reporting out-of-body experiences? It was really interesting to me. They're there for lucid dreaming, which is different. And yet these people are saying, I swear I got out of my body. It was so exciting.
For people in the audience who have never experienced an out-of-body experience, we've had William Bullman on and many different people over the decades, but how would you describe it for somebody who may not know if they have or haven't had such an experience?
Sure. An out-of-body experience is the, shall we say, the perception, the feeling, the knowing that you are conscious outside of your physical body. So you may actually feel yourself float up. A lot of people do, in fact, get in flying situations, say, oh, my gosh, I felt like I was flying. Or some people will actually feel themselves bump up against something, turn around, look down, and see their actual bodies there. But what we're talking about here is your state of knowledge, of awareness that you are apart from your physical being.
Right, and certainly many people in surgery under anesthesia experience this and remember it. We've done a lot of shows on that over the decades. And sometimes it happens through trauma in the middle of a car accident. All of a sudden you're out of your body, you see what's happening, you see the emergency people. But it also can happen as a result of medication, alcohol, drugs, in which you don't necessarily have control over what's happening. What do you advise to somebody who says, oh, my God, I'm out of my body, what do I do?
I think the best thing to do, I remember Bob years ago suggesting this, and I'm sure William Buellman, who is a wonderful soul, he's just moved to this area, and he offers our out-of-body experience programs here. But what Bob used to say was just stop and move your finger. Think of your foot, your finger, your arm, your hand. Mm-hmm. Be consciously focused on a part of your body, because what you want to do is get grounded, quote unquote.
Right.
Bring yourself back to yourself. And so just simply by thinking, I am back in my body, and you deliberately try to move. Again, fingers are a good one to use. That's a good way to do that.
It's interesting because in past life therapeutics, when you go out and you experience some other time period, that's one of the things they tell you is look at your feet and look at your hands.
Right.
And oftentimes the shoes and the gloves or whatever it is will tell you what decade, what century, what millennium you're actually standing on. So it looks like our limbs, which in Judaism we call the ministers, our hands and our feet are our ministers. You call attention to your ministers so your kingdom can get in order. You're so much fun to be with.
Well, likewise, though, I really appreciate, again, you're having me on. This is fun talking with you. I'm always a little cowed because you are so extremely well-read, and I'm very admiring of your work. So thank you for all you're doing, also for all the folks out there in this wild area of consciousness.
Yeah. No, it's just, I love the Monroe Institute. And folks go, well, how many times have you been? I hate to admit it, I've yet to show up. But I'm going to.
We need you here.
Well, I'm going to. I am slowly.
You and Bob need to come. After all, your Bob interviewed my Bob.
Yeah, many decades.
Many years ago, I'm sure.
Well, we have to say goodnight. Go to www.monroeinstitute.org. Thank you to Nancy McMoneagle and the great team at the Monroe Institute.
Happy ever after. I hope we can all live fearlessly, and we can
Stay connected and stay informed on the #1 news talk station, Talk Radio 680, WCBM, Baltimore, and WCBM.com.